Okay, of course, this is Doug. This is me. Wow, I feel somewhat, not somewhat, a lot challenged right now because I have multiple things happening all at the same time. First of all, I'm recording this on Saturday. It is September 18th. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning locally. In Arizona, it's earlier. I'm sitting in a truck stop, not just a few minutes from the Hutchins/Dallas night yard. So one of the first things I wanted to say, I just put some photos of Japan with some music because my channel is and probably will continue to be driving to Tokyo. So I wanted to put some Japan shots there because I have gone to Japan 5 times in 2 years. It started out as more or less a vacation. It's the first international trip I had taken since I'd gone to Brazil over 20 years before that. And I didn't know it was going to turn into what it did. So that's another whole huge conversation, the driving to Tokyo. Tokyo and Japan is a big part of it, but I just wanted to say that's why I wanted to put the pictures there, but I want to shift gears. The driving is also a part of it, but it is not just truck driving and with night transportation right now. It really, a lot of my story, I'm choosing to cover flashbacks all the way back 14 years ago, 20 years ago, when I was driving a taxi cab in Denver, Colorado, and my Colorado days, because I realized now, I didn't realize it then, and part of the communication I would like to have with you, regardless of when you're watching this or who you are or where you are, is there's no doubt in my mind, because of my own personal experience now, that I want to say often. I want to say often because I don't ever want to say it's like a given for everybody, 100% of all 6 billion people on the planet, because there might be some exceptions. But what I like to say is often, most people, if you get to where I am, I'm just turned 68, I'm almost 70, and you begin reflecting on your own personal life, your life is going to be completely yours, obviously your own unique circumstances, so I can't speak for you specifically, but what I can say now, more than shadow of doubt, I realize that many of the things that are happening today are a result of, whether you call it karma or law of attraction or just synergy or whatever you call it. Many of the things that are happening today did start 14 years ago, 20 years ago, and probably past that have a ripple effect and are now surfacing in a big way in my life right now. So part of the message, it's not the only message of driving to Tokyo. My channel is beyond just the truck driving, beyond just going to Japan, beyond just the obvious. It's the things I believe to be true on a more of a karmic, spiritual level that I want to share. That's another level, okay? Another level, which I've talked about in other videos, like currently right now, my channel is live, Driving to Tokyo. There's, I think, somewhere around 70 videos there. I started doing this a few months ago from zero, okay? And started recording videos every day. I didn't know how to do video. I didn't know how to do video editing a few months ago. It's now September. I'd say back in March, if I want to go back that far. I didn't know how to do anything but just post pictures on Facebook. Like most people, just shoot a short video and download it on the Facebook wall, or perhaps a live. That was about the extent. As far as being a content creator or having a YouTube, I did have a YouTube channel, like a lot of people. That just was Doug Wehrman. I had a whole hodgepodge of videos and from my truck driving, not very many, and also some Japan videos, but I would make a video, just post it. It'd be very random, not any order and sequence, not with any intentionality to create a monetized, channel at that point at all. Maybe in the back of my mind, but in my mind, I always felt like I didn't have the X factor, and I didn't have the skills, and I didn't, I had all the reasons why I felt like I was just posting these for my own personal memory. And I honestly still kind of feel that way today, even with all the things that have happened. But what I want to talk about, right this instant, and make clear that what makes this challenging is I am first and foremost a over-the-road truck driver with Knight Transportation. I've been for 9 years. I'm doing that right now. In this present moment, I have a load that's going to Colorado from Dallas area, and I have a couple challenges I have to resolve with that load. That's my reality right now. So every single day, as I'm recording videos and creating content for my channel, and I'm posting or downloading it, oftentimes, well, I shouldn't say, most of the time I'm working, and occasionally I may be at home, but most of the time I'm working. I'm taking care of business at my job, So, in other words, what it looks like for me is every day I have to take a 10-hour break legally. And every day, just like every other truck driver, regardless whether you work for Knight Transportation or whomever, you have the same guidelines. You can drive up to 11 hours in a day, work up to 14 hours when you start your clock, and you have your 70-hour clock, and you have your parameters that you have to work around. I'm just exactly the same way, but what I've done that's different than probably 99.99% of the truckers, I don't know, there could be some other truckers that have my profile or have a story similar to mine. I'd love to meet them, but I think mine is truly unique in that I've gone to Japan 5 times in 2 years, and then how I got started, and my age, getting started at 55, and now I'm almost 70, etc., etc. It's very unique. Now, I will say that all of us, if you are watching this, whomever you are, you're also unique. So, we're all unique. We all have our own unique stories to tell. But I've decided what to do with this channel is, first and foremost, there's a couple things that I'm going to do because it's easy to do, because it's reality. I'm going to document my days driving a truck. So obviously every single day it'll be truck driving with Knight Transportation, but in a different location, different load, different set of circumstances. And so if you happen to be, and you may not be, but if you happen to be a person just like me 12 years ago, that for whatever reason you're thinking about driving a truck, and specifically, driving a truck is just general. Okay, you could be driving a truck locally, be a local driver. You may be even thinking of doing that, or a local little van UPS driver. So when you say truck driver, it's real big, macro. It's not micro. It's not being very specific. Okay, I'm an OTR, over the road, long haul truck driver. I do some local, but I'm not a local driver. So if you're thinking about being an over-the-road truck driver with a CDL, I also have some specific things that would be helpful for you, information over and above, driving to Tokyo, and my story and my background and my history, all of that. All that is kind of secondary for you. So part of the intention of my channel is to speak to those people, to pay it forward, to maybe make it a little easier for other people that are in the same boat I was. Okay, so I'm going to answer questions, I won't get into it now, but just give you an idea of what's involved with driving a truck over the road. How do you get started? For example, talking to a recruiter, qualifying, going through a truck driving school, going out with a trainer, orientation. Regardless of whether you go Squire and Knight, in most cases you're going to go through the same general steps. Recruiter, qualification. You're going to go through some type of truck driving training with a lead driver, and orientation, and go out and get your own truck and begin to build your experience. That's the steps you're going to go through. I went through the same steps 12 years ago. Then, like anything else, there's another level, and after that level there's another level. So part of my intention of this video, it's not going to be done with one video, okay, is to have videos on that whole journey. Now obviously, after you've decided to go with Squire, if perhaps you watch my videos and you go, wow, this looks pretty cool, I like what he's doing, well, it's cool, he went to Japan and he saved $37,000 last year, and he's doing this and that kind of looks cool. I'm kind of interested in that too. Now the truth is, regardless of whether you're interested in my story or going to Japan, or learning what I did and how I did it and why I did it, you still have to go through the beginning steps that I outline. Recruiter, qualification, training, trainer, trying truck driving school, all that stuff, and then get your own truck and get experience. You have to do all of that before we even have a conversation about you potentially being part of my vision that I have, and that is driving to Tokyo, high performance team, taking you places you've never been before, empowered by Nomyo Homoki Kyo. I have a vision of drivers on that team. However, every driver has to go through the beginning stages before they even qualify to be a part of that team. And one of the big qualifications is to be employed by Knight Transportation, right? And go through the steps. So everybody has that base in common, okay? So that's why I don't want to go into a lot of detail with that, because that's like down the road, so to speak, okay? Now, with truck driving, for me, and I'm having a conversation with Matt, I'm already 12 minutes into this intro, so I could sit here and speak for at least an hour, okay, and just kind of hit the high points, okay, the high points. And one thing I want to say, if you happen to be one of those that are interested in driving a truck, one of the things you need to be, along with going through the steps, okay, is you have to be coachable, okay? You have to be willing to learn. You have to be willing to listen, because there's a lot of stuff you have to learn, and the only way you're going to learn it is you do have to have a trainer, and you do spend orientation classroom time, and even after you become a driver, you have your safety tests you take. You're constantly learning and refining, and you never stop learning, okay? So you have to be humble and teachable. It's really important, and I'm still that way, okay? Now, I'm in my real time, I'm in the process of having a conversation with Madeline, who's my dry van terminal manager, about the possibility of her riding with me in the truck. She mentioned it just last week when I talked to her, to ride together and actually film it and talk. Now, this is huge for me in reference to the Driving to Tokyo High Performance team becoming a reality, and or recruiting and training drivers, because part of what I want to talk about is the core culture with Knight, and having Madeline in the truck with me actually going through the information just takes it to another level. For example, she can start from ground zero. Let's talk about what you have to do to become a truck driver, and we could talk about it, the same things I just talked to you about, but I'd be talking to her, who's actually a part of the the leadership or management team that manages me, manages my driver manager. So you get a sense through watching my videos. She's only 32 years old, I'm 68, of the corporate culture, okay? That's the reason it's huge, okay? But also I could talk to her about my vision and kind of the mechanics of it and how it could potentially even come into fruition and the steps that we would have to take. In other words, I'm working on that right now, okay? It hasn't happened yet, so I'm working on simultaneous things all at once. But back to the first message, I'm doing this on top of my full-time job. Like, for example, I'm starting this load with some big challenges. Number one, this happens, I have to get an empty. I'm not eligible to even start my clock. That's why I'm sitting talking on video, even with all this stuff going on, because there's nothing I can do until I'm eligible to start driving, okay? It looks like I have a potential empty, which I need for my live load appointment from 9 to 12. That's out in the same city at Living Spaces. That's imperative I get that empty, because I need an empty to load the trailer so I can go to Colorado, right? It looks like I'm probably, because of my Zonar or my e-logs, which makes it life so much easier, is out. And the shop here in the Dallas Hutchins yard is not open today. So to pick up this load and get rolling through that whole process and going to Colorado, I have to do paper logs. I did paper logs when I started 12 years ago, because we didn't have electronic logs. We had manual transmission, not automatic transmission. So I'm a little bit bummed that during this could be a really cool trip, there's the complication I've got to deal with doing paper logs instead of the e-logs. And if you don't know about e-logs, that's part of what I'm going to talk about, is not only how you become a driver, the steps, but also after you start driving, what do you have to do? And I can show you specific tonight, okay? So that's one of the reasons why it's imperative that you have many, many different choices of trucking schools and trucking companies, but to be uniform and to be in the same wavelength, so everything I'm talking about is congruent, it's imperative you go through Squire, and then after you go through all that process, in fact, the bottom line, and I'll just end this video, the big benefit for you if you decide that, oh wow, I want to do this, of being a subscriber on this channel, is when you go to Squire and you go through the training, because I'm with Knight and I'm a full-time driver, you're going to be ahead of the other students that have not got the basic information prior to their training, okay? You won't be at the level. Now, there will be drivers potentially in your course that have driven before, that have been out on the road, but for whatever reason they've had a break and they have to go through what's called a refresher course, that they've been out here, they've had their CDL, they're experienced driver, but they haven't to go through the refresher, okay? They're going to already know the knowledge. You just have to they have to find out, for example, what the macro messages are for Knight versus the company they're with and how we run and all of that. So you might have some of those people, but probably the majority of the people you're going to have in your class are people that don't know anything. They're at ground zero. So part of the benefit in my mind, and I'll tell Madeline up front, is the people that come to this channel, when they go through training, they'll have heard about e-logs. I've heard about landing gear, how to raise the landing gear, glad hands, what you do at the shipper, what you do at the consigning, and all the basic stuff. They'll have at least have a framework or hear about it, even though they haven't seen it or done anything. At least they'll have an idea. So it gives you an overview. Okay. With that said, I'm going to close out because this is almost 20 minutes of just real basic intro. Now, what I love doing is telling the backstory too, and talking about the, personal development side too, because one of the big benefits, and I'm now going overtime with this video, one of the benefits after you get through all the stuff and you're out in a truck by yourself and you're doing your job just like I am, and you get kind of in a groove, there's another level you can get into, the personal development side, which is another whole level, okay? Not to mention the possibility of you learning from me how you too could go to Japan, and or you could Thailand, India, whatever, night is a great place if you want to create a job that's not really like a job. To me, this isn't even like a job. Okay, you create a lifestyle. Now, it's not for everyone. So in a comical kind of fun way, I'm gonna probably drop off here, and I've got some more time to kill before I can even legally go anywhere. I'm gonna mix some stuff that I put together. Now, I told Madden, my video is kind of abstract, and I understand. She's like, well, it went from here to there to here to there. I don't know if this happened on Friday, then we jump to Monday. So when you're watching the video, try not to get too logical, okay? Try to kind of feel like you're channel surfing. Like, imagine all these videos that are my driving to Tokyo videos. It's all kinds of them. And you're sitting there and just kind of channel surfing through the multiple videos that I have, and you're looking for one that might pique your curiosity more. It may not be the steps that you're going to need to go through. It may not be training, maybe one of the others, but just think of when I put things together, I'm kind of giving you an overview of what my life has been and what is like the last 12 years and beyond that, 14 years ago, 20 years ago, and how I got here, okay? So the Driving to Tokyo channel it's interesting for me because it's my life. I'm just hoping it has, at least some curiosity with you, enough so that you want to subscribe, watch, and just come along for the ride. It's not going to happen just with one video. You have to it's going to take you a while to kind of get connected, So, I'm going to stop here. Again, I'm recording this on the 18th in Hutchins/Dallas, Texas. I have a load going to Loveland, Colorado, but I still have to deal with my Zonar, my e-logs, and empty and get over to the shipper, get loaded, get rolling, and probably have to do paper logs all the way to Loveland. That's kind of where I'm at right now. Let's see how it goes.